All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the World Arena podcast, aka the WAPcast. Today,
WAP.
Firas and I are joined by our fellow gamer Apze. Welcome.
How's it going?
Thank you for joining us as usual.
You're saying as usual, but we haven't had him for a while.
I mean, I'm just saying that we're thanking him as usual. That not that he's joining us. But yeah, so this week we're going to be doing something similar to last week where we were making cores around the units that we felt were the best first picks in the game, but this week we took suggestions out of last week's comments and started building off of those as well to get some of your guys' units in here because, I mean, there's a lot of like quirky units, especially LDs, that people have that they don't know what the hell they want to do with or use or anything like that. So yeah, we'll try to help you guys out with some cores. So we all made a few with your suggestions. But before we do that, how's your season going so far, Apze? You just kind of killing time before the Oliver nerf or what?
Yeah, I'm learning to play turn one is one of the, or at least I'm learning to race for turn one, which is not something I traditionally did. Like I used to always like if people challenge turn one, then I would just like pivot to something complete bullshit, like just like Antares, whatever.
My favorite kind of player.
And now I'll still do that, but only if like mathematically there's no possible way for me to actually take turn one. Like if someone drops like Oliver Triton, Yanhong, it's like there's no point in me even trying.
It's hopeless.
It's just a guaranteed loss.
Yeah, it's hopeless. I do the exact same thing. That's the only time I'll ever pivot is if in that first 3 picks there's like a Yanhong and a 33. I'm just like, all right, it's all you, buddy. Go ahead and try it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, how are you feeling about this meta at the moment? Like, do you think, we're about to do a bunch of cores on super quirky units. Do you think there's actual room for that? Or is it kind of like hoping that this balance patch knocks off some of those big dogs and then maybe these quirky units become truly viable?
I mean, some of them for sure are. I mean, like combo teams are always going to kind of work, right? Like one of the ones I'll be going over is Van Cleef. And Van Cleef is like traditionally a almost like a win more unit. Like, it's like bringing him along means that you already won if he ever gets to do anything. But there's a couple units that have made him slightly more viable.
Yep.
And I mean, honestly, it's like a lot right now it's draft dependent. Like I don't think a unit like that necessarily is you can draft him every time no matter what, but I mean there's still a lot of cases where it is playable, right?
Yep.
It's just that if you're definitely going against someone playing Oliver speed stuff, then you're going to have to be able to at least either pivot into challenging them for speed, or you're going to have to bring more defensive units that will allow you to take advantage of Oliver derping or like cut a turn or or whatever.
Yep.
So, but I mean, I'm a big proponent of janky, like off spec kind of off meta teams, because there's always a case where they're they have a niche that they take advantage of, and as long as you recognize that early in a draft and you can actually pull it off, like there's always a place for it.
Yeah.
Always.
And if those top units ever do like get truly nerfed too, it's like it just helps those teams all the more, because like sometimes those teams are ruined by the fact that like even if you have the exact like niche quirky out of the box game plan for beating Shizuka and Masha and whatever, there's still a chance that those super crazy overloaded units just get that one key resist or that one key, proc out of whatever your lockdown was for them, and then just, okay, I'm a better unit than your units are, so here we go. Like, so as soon as those units get knocked down a little bit too, it just makes the off-meta team so much stronger, because they don't have as many losses to just, oh, my units were on paper just worse than yours.
It makes the game more interesting, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Not seeing the same bullshit every single day.
Yep.
Love it.
But yeah, how's your derping off going for us?
We love Shazam.
Do not love Shazam.
Oh my.
Don't lie to me. You love Shazam. Yeah, I'm still.
I mean,
I'm hitting a peak. Not a peak. I'm hitting a very consistent C3. I'm not able to, even get close to G1. So I think I'm at my limit, or my brain's at its limit, one or the other. But I don't know, I might transition out of it, or I might see if I can add some other 2 core units to make it viable. Just to be able to stay the part in the season, or what I talked about in the last 2 podcasts. Maybe I'll just keep reworking the Shazam draft until it works. But yeah, that's where I'm at. See,
Apps and I don't have to worry about that because we have good LDs now. Like me and Apps, not just Apps. Okay, so we don't love Shazam around here. Okay.
But we
use powerhouses.
I also have Shazam.
Okay, well then maybe he loves Shazam.
I actually really do like Shazam. The problem is I like Shazam from 1 buff ago, whenever he provoked, and now I don't like him as much anymore.
Same.
He doesn't provoke anymore?
No. He does not.
Wait, that's all they did was they replaced provoke with glance?
No, they replaced it with AoE counter.
Yeah, so now he used to provoke, now he buffs your team with counter attack.
Oh, I thought those things were like going at the same time. I thought he had the provoke and the counter buff at the same time.
No, he used to glance and provoke.
I remember that.
And then they took out the
lost his provoke when he got the counter.
They lost provoke to get the AoE counter.
Yeah, we hate
consider that really a buff.
It's not. Yeah.
No. Yeah, I don't think that's a buff.
That's weird. That's a really weird thing to do because it's like provoke in almost every situation is better than counter because it's like a silence. It's a 1-turn silence where it's like, I don't know.
I mean, to be fair though, he is now, I believe, the only RTA playable unit that does an AE counter.
Oh, yeah, he's the only unit in the game, right?
Well, I mean, Light Homunculus can do it.
Yeah.
But not usable in PvP. So maybe they were trying to fit that niche. I mean, I still don't agree with it, but I mean, I can see why maybe they'd want to make a unit that does it, but I don't see why it has to be an LD5 that was already like mediocre.
Yeah.
Like a different kind of mediocre.
Yeah. All right, so we can hop into our cores. So I've got 4 units, so I'll go first, and then we can just kind of.
You didn't even talk. Oh wait, never mind.
Off.
We don't have to talk about how is it going for you because that'll be part of the.
Yeah, he's on the list. Yeah. So our first unit is a new toy of mine, Wedjat.
Oh, we're starting off with it.
Yeah, dude, we gotta start off with a bang, dude.
The segue specialist.
3,000 scrolls in, 1,000 scrolls after Groggin. Wedjat has joined my account. This beautiful beast, this beautiful hamster, whatever the hell animal he is. So
what? Okay.
What? You don't think he's a what animal do you think he is?
How is Shazam a hamster? And then Wedjat is also a hamster.
What? Just because he has a pointy nose, he can't be a hamster?
No.
You don't make any sense. Okay. Anyways, I've only had him for about like 24 hours, so I don't have a ton of practice, but he was actually on our list of units to make a core for before I pulled him. Okay, we didn't just add him to the list after the fact. He was already on the list.
LD flexing.
Okay, he was already on the list, but I haven't had a ton of practice yet. But so far, like the best cores that I can see with him are Robos, where he's violent behind them and just helping them just gain more and more and more and more attack bar, which is what I'm doing right now. But then also yesterday when I was first trying him, I was using him on Swift with Water Ryu and Chungpung core, which is also pretty good, but I don't know. Swift Wedjat is kind of a weirdo. Like you overfill their bar on turn 1. Like it's way too much bar for it to even like matter. And then because he doesn't give himself any bar, like Vertihile does, then
love it.
He doesn't he doesn't get back to that next turn quick enough. So Violent just seems to be better. And if you're on Violent, you want to be with like really high impact AoE strips, things like Verisa if you don't have the Robos built, Robos. You can use him with Water Ryu. I'm using him with Praha. And he's also really good with like helping other Swift units like Swift Ethna and stuff like that stay alive after they do their thing. Like you move behind the Ethna, you give her some bar, you give her defense buff, give her anti-crit, stuff like that. Sometimes she can survive a Masha. But yeah, he's pretty good. I think the best cores for him right now is probably AoE CC, where he's just one of the speed leads and the support of the team.
Have you tried actually using defense units with it, like the Copper Bulldozer, blah blah blah?
Very soon. That's coming next.
The
I don't know yet.
Cleave.
Yeah, that is coming next.
Because I don't see what's his name. Emesity is the wind one, right? Emesity. Yeah, because I don't see him in the box yet. But I don't think we have a defense scaling speed lead, do we?
Scaling? Rama.
Yeah, like someone Rama. Oh, okay. Aside from someone that's global, that gives everybody.
No, there isn't one.
Searching.
If only we could search it.
No, there isn't one.
It's kind of whack. That's like really whack.
Yeah.
We'd love to see some more synergy. They hate defense units in this game.
I'm Harry, technically. White Giant.
No!
It's true. That is true, but...
It's factual, but is it really?
I mean, if you're doing weirdo combo teams, I mean, Harry seems to be like almost like the king of weirdo combo teams in a lot of ways. So.
The funny thing is, I was using him on my comp before the Wedjat. He was part of my Jamire. Well, we'll get into that after because
I remember that. Yeah,
it's in the next one of my next units that I'm going to talk about. But yeah, anyways, Wedjat. I know most people's reaction is to go Swift on him. I just don't think it. I think that's why most people who have him think he's pretty lackluster, because they probably are forcing Swift on him. They're getting that one turn. He's not giving himself any bar. Then you're getting stripped by your opponent. Now you've got no buffs, and you haven't given yourself the bar to help get you back to your next turn. So, yeah, I like Violent, fat, 100 res. He awakens into res, so it's really easy. And yeah.
Well, in a related note, I actually wish I had a second Woolyoung because I really, really want to have a Violent Woolyoung. Like
that would be sick. That would be super sick.
I really want to see a Violent Woolyoung with like just super efficient, like nuker style.
She does a lot of damage, yeah. That would be sick.
But she's too good on Swift right now as well.
Yeah.
So it's awkward, to say the least. But
and oh yeah, give Wedjat 28 lead. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, it's so fucking weird. I mean, honestly, give them both 33s. That's all I'm saying.
But it just doesn't make sense. Like this, if nothing else, Come to Us is usually consistent with the way that they, like, to a fault. They are annoying with like, oh, we can't buff this unit's S1 because then it has to buff that unit's S1 and like shit like that, where it's like they're super like consistent and strict.
Yeah,
and then
it'd be a 28. I don't understand it.
And then randomly between Wedjat and Woolyoung, it's like, okay, you guys are both Nat 5s in a Nat 4 family. 28, 24.
I got the answer for you. All right, look. Amduat is a 4-star.
Doesn't matter.
No, hold on. But the Sky Dancer,
educate me.
The Sky Dancer family has 2 Nat 5s.
Okay, so why is Shimate 24%? Where's the Nat 5 in his family?
Because she's strictly leader. Or sorry, strictly arena.
What do you think Wedjat is? Or is he global?
He's global.
No, he's not. He's arena.
Wait, what? Okay,
this dude's not global.
It's fucked up. It's been fucked up for a while. Why is this?
It makes no sense.
I can't even bullshit an answer right now. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna be quiet.
The Nat 4 arena leads that have no Nat 5s in their families are 24. the Nat 5 of a Nat 4 family, 24. I mean, fuck it. I don't need that 4%. I'm just saying for the other Wedjat owners out there.
I actually thought he was a
It's actually better for me that he has a 24 because he gets banned less. The 28 is almost always the ban. If you're doing 28, 24, people would just default to the 28. But now with like 24, 24, he'll make it through more drafts. So you never know.
So what you're saying is you want a Will Young.
I would love a Will Young. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to lie. I wanted Wedjat more than Will Young. So I'm not going to front like, I got the wrong one. I have always asked for and wanted Wedjat. So
it's true. It's true.
It took me about 1,000 reapps and 2 years to get to the point where I would actually draft Will Young. Like, I actually think she's really hard to draft.
Oh yeah, 101 base speed is no joke. Like, you gotta have some legit ass runes for that. But all right,
it is a joke.
Next unit. Which one of you guys? Go ahead. Something off your list.
I'll do the easy one, at least with the one I consider easy, which is Van Cleef.
Yep.
Yeah,
and I agree with
that.
Like
Van Cleef was obviously, does a little bit of backstory for people who don't know. Van Cleef does a single target. He does a single target strip into a single target stun into an area effect increased duration of debuffs, which implies that you need to have already basically stripped them and applied debuffs, which means he's probably a second or third mover, usually a third mover, as opposed to a second, because like, you know, the only, if you have a Gianna, I'm not gonna mention that he's really good with the Gianna because that should be pretty self-explanatory.
I think you should go into detail though.
Okay, if you have Gianna, he's really great second mover after Gianna, but
I feel like you'd still put him third though, because like
you'd probably still put him third, because if you put him second, then
and they ban Gianna, then he's like first. Better. Yeah.
In either case, so he's generally a third mover, if not a fourth mover. So for a long time, he was considered bad because the only way, like, essentially the kind of team that would let him do what it seems like he should do is a team that has already won by the time he moves, and at that point, why don't you just bring something that kills them? Yes. So, but luckily now you have a much easier way of taking advantage of him, which is Tomoe. Because now if he does a thing and he actually puts, even if he just does a stun on one target and makes it 3 turns, you now have a handy dandy unit that makes it 3 turns for everybody. So very convenient with the Tomoe.
If you have him tuned, I can see that working. Because
So I'm gonna meme a little bit because I personally think Robos are, even now, even as much as they're being drafted, I think a lot of people still have not made the jump. Is you can run a team like, say, Moore into a Robo, so now you have your 2 strips set up. Also, one or both of those can be on Despair, giving you more stun chances for him to increase. And then if you're running Wind Robo, if they give you more and Wind Robo, you're going to be able to cycle Wind Robo into a remove before he even moves, and you can get an AE stun going with either of those and a lot of attack bar decrease before Van Cleef ever moves. So you now have like a double strip into a full team multiple turn CC with attack bar reduction, and it only is 3 out of your 5 picks. So you can shore up your weaknesses and counter draft around that. Like for the other 2, like it's actually super open, right? Between just those 3. A lot of times you're going to want to bring Tomoe for the other speed lead because it's also a nice follow-up. And in addition, Tomoe has the same benefit of, if you tune it tightly enough, she can skill 2, let Van Cleef move, and then skill 3 to spread it, so you actually get the additional strip chance. Like, there's a lot of stuff there that just works really, really well.
I think you should still put her 4th in that situation though. Just to make sure, because Van Cleef's 100% activation rate, I'm pretty sure, on his stun. So like,
well, and also
I'd be a lot safer and just
the reason why you'd make her move 4th is that if you're actually in a really tight speed tuning fight with somebody,
exactly,
you actually can't skill 2 into skill 3,
right?
Like a lot of times. Although technically you kind of can, because with Moore and Robo,
if they got pushbacks,
both of those are ATB fixers. So,
as a Robo connoisseur, though, Apze, how often does your Robo go S2 into S3 before anyone else on your team moves because of bar?
If they're pre-stripped by somebody else, every time.
Yeah.
Every time?
Every time, yeah, legit.
But that's a Swift Robo, right?
I run Violent Robos actually, but I don't actually run Swift on either. I run a Violent Robo and a Despair Robo. Even the Dark Robo, who's my first stripper, like will a lot of time get to cycle into a second skill 3 or a second turn before anyone else moves. Like a lot depends on exactly how many, like if in a bullshit turn 2 team where you're going to have an off will Juno and potentially like something else off will, it's like pretty consistent. Into a full will team, it doesn't cut every time. But if you have 2 in a row or someone to pre-strip a couple of them, it's going to take a second turn, like basically every time.
Yeah, because when they're already stripped, the activation rate of the pushback goes up to 100%. So they just
maybe
suck like
Verisa
200 bar.
I was maybe a Despair Verisa might have some.
For sure. If you're missing Water Ryu of like that Nat 5 group.
Verisa would be really good there.
Even like, just Hagang, because like Hagang's going to be one of your biggest counters. If you just put him on Despair, like odds are you get 1 stun, you extend that to 2, you get glancing on a couple other things, you extend that to 3 turns. Like 3-turn glancing is fucking a nightmare to deal with.
And if you can do, like if you're really budget, you could probably run Tyrone as well. Tyrone like as another speed lead there's a lot of free strippers out there. A lot of people should have Robos by now, so I can see that really working well within your respective rank.
Depending on how you have it built, you're going to be having to ban Juno a whole lot because none of your units is going to be able to kill Juno. Like maybe Van Cleef if you build them high DPS enough, but in reality, you're going to be looking at a lot of Juno bans. The nice thing though is you're going to be looking at a lot of 3-turn stun Vertihills and Ragdolls, which is going to be really, really great. So,
we love it.
Yeah, but Juno Josephine is going to be your biggest issues. That and of course just like Molly having a chance to just like, oh, you glanced your stun, your entire combo just crumbled. Like,
there's room in this team actually for like a
Tessa.
Double, like, well, you could do like if you notice you're getting hit by Josephines a lot, you could actually run like a Swift Robo into like a Chung Pung, like that whole setup, and that would be pretty sick. Because a Swift Wind Robo is still going to be stunning everybody before Van Cleef moves. Like he doesn't have to be Despair to get the pre-stuns you need to make Van Cleef insane.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Van Cleef is. I mean, if we had done this video, say, before Robos, I can see why people were having a hard time, like, figuring out how to use him. Like, I know some people with, like, Nephthys used him, some people with Volantis I see on ladder use him and stuff like that. But, like, before Robos, there wasn't much of a, like, free-to-play core you could build around him. But I feel like now there definitely is, Wind Robo especially.
The ultimate crutch.
Yeah.
Better Chung Pung.
All right, Firas, hit us with a unit.
Better more.
He's a better everything, dude. Chung Pung and more are both gone out of my freaking
I mean, I would still, if I was given the choice between, you can either have a Wind Robo or a More, I would still take More. And only because, I mean, Wind Robo is a better setup, but More is just the total package. Like More, I still consider More probably one of the best units in the game. Like he just solos too many people for like
low effort.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just like just the protection against Juno. Like sometimes, like you just be like, okay, you picked a Juno, well, I have More. So like, whereas if you had Wind Robo,
think about it less. Yes, I agree.
His value definitely goes up with Masha being so popular too, but.
Yeah,
he's also easier to counter. Like, it's weird to me that people's. I mean, getting off topic, but it's weird to me that people don't still like just nem trap Moors and stuff like that. Like, he's still like one of the highest pick rate units in the entire game, and like the last time he was the highest pick rate unit in the entire game, it was just nem traps everywhere, just screwing him over. Like, you could still do that. Like, that's still a thing.
I'm making my 0 damage More as we speak.
Oh my god.
Yeah, good luck soloing those Junos then.
You know he'll have 60,000 hit points. She'll never manage to kill him.
Eventually get stun locked. What do you mean?
Yep. So hit us with the unit.
My first unit I chose. The way I approached it though is I decided them as first pick units, and I gave you 2 ways to pivot, whether you want to go turn 1 with them if needed, or you go turn 2 with them if needed. So starting off with Theomars as a first pick. We love it. Don't say you don't love it.
That's my favorite line of the episode. Starting off with Theomars as a first pick.
You can still go with some sort of one-shot comp. That's very... You can. There's a lot of good ATB boosters out there. Issues might be speed leads, but you have a couple of free-to-play ones that can help you out if you don't have the premium ones. And then there's a bruiser comp. You can go with them as well, depending how you decide to build it. If you decide to build them a little too squishy, you're really stuck with the one-shot kind of cleave comp, which isn't horrible nowadays. So if you start with Theo, obviously they may assume you're going damage, like pure damage comp. But because Theo has the good old Elemental King, you can actually pivot between having an attack buffing, attack booster comp, or you can pivot to the immunity comp. If you have, let's say, some of the cookies, the blue cookie who gives you speed buff, immunity, and attack buff. So at least that way you're protected if you can't get stripped, but that you also have to say that your opponent is not going turn 1 on you. So
or
if
Draco.
you can provide, or Draco gives you both as well, but that's kind of the booster route. But then I was thinking about also, like, you have like Wusa as an option, Vela, but Vela's there, and
he also provides. I was gonna say, like, if you're running that turn 2 and you bring him with Shizuka, the first time they hit him, or they get him almost dead. Now Shizuka's starting to drop like 2-turn endures on everybody.
Yep,
I love it. That's actually I actually totally forgot about that because I was thinking so budget. I forgot about the premium units, but that is definitely an option.
Nana makes him a pain in the ass to deal with too.
Yes, yeah, because he does technically have a double life, but not really. Depends on who you're fighting. So I think if you do a one-shot comp, you're either going to first pick Theo, and then if you need a speed lead, you'll go with either Shimate, because you need still more damage to be dealt. And then your booster will be not Yan Hong, but Hong Yan, the fire one, the fire string master, because she has a good base speed, and she gives you 15 bar. Now 15 bar isn't the greatest.
Tough.
But if you have the tuning, it works. If you don't have the tuning, you are going to have to use Draco and hope that you win the dice roll.
Yeah. Well, hey, he's speed scaling. Theo is speed scaling, and so is Shimate. Right. So and you're getting speed buff no matter what.
That's true. So you get 3 colors right there. And I love tricolor starts with a Theo, Shimate, and a Draco. And then you have your last 2 to either pick, like, let's say if you have an Icarus, she's been very not underused, just not used of recent days because she hasn't had play, but Icarus is really good there. Mo Long, naturally. I am not going to say Arnold, he does nothing. And there's Kaki, he's still a thing. Not Fuki. And you would need another speed lead. So you can either go with, if you do keep going with that, so you can go another speed lead. Who's the other free-to-play one? I didn't write it down.
Free-to-play speed lead?
Yeah.
Not any good ones.
Other than Shimate.
There's like Drake, or not Draco, Garo.
Garo's kind of sus. But he does get you, if you're doing it with Draco, it's fine actually. But then you would also need your other booster. You would
do like Escher or something as your other unit.
Yeah, you could run it with Escher and a Fran actually. Because Fran with an Escher, you'll catch a lot of people still.
Well, no, I'm saying like Shimate, Garo, Escher with the Draco and the Theo. Because you can't, if you ban Garo, then Escher has a 24. If you ban Escher, then Draco has a 30.
You have to excuse me, I'm not a cleave master. But the bruiser comp style, which is probably my preferred one, because at least Theo can like help you deal with like the Olivers and the Dominics, just because he's a water unit that can hit wind units with little repercussions. And if you need protection, you can easily pivot into a Wusa or a Fran, or the water cookie. I don't know. The water, is it vanilla? I think she's the vanilla.
Pure vanilla, yeah.
Yeah, the pure vanilla. I think she's actually really good with Theo, giving speed buff and attack buff, and obviously immunity on top of that. But obviously tuning with her is kind of rough. And then for your other elements that you would want, if you have a Dominic, take your own Dominic with him. Help delete some, because he's technically bruiser-ish, and he gets helps you deal with some of the units you want to delete immediately, such as an Oliver or Shizuka. But if you have your own Oliver and Shizuka, and for some reason you still want to take Theomars, then you can do that. take it with it for whatever reason. But it's a bit rough trying to make Theomars work.
Stick to that free to play draft, because that draft was actually completely free to play with Shimmy, Draco, Escher, and Garo. That's 100% free to play.
And if you have an LD that can complement it, let's say like Yan Hong or a
Wedjat
or a Wedjat, you could make it work. Theo having an S2 speed scaling defense break, and even if you take Woundsa to strip and boost, Theo could very likely delete something or get it low enough for something else to finish it off.
He'll take Masha off her horse real quick.
They're
all on Nem right now, so
if you bring Gianna, Yanhong, and Oliver in every game, you're going to get Theo into the game.
Yeah,
pretty much.
That's a good idea.
No problem. But we're talking about like something like a random LD5, and they don't have the rest. There's combinations to make.
Could use Tian Lang to strip for him.
Oh yeah,
actually, the because of how he kills, because of the single target nature of him, like you might actually want to bring like another way of building it would actually be to make him pretty fast because he scales off of it anyway, and then have him like follow up a like an Ethna or something like that strips and does pretty appreciable damage, and then you just like use him as the second part of that like pseudo one shot.
Yeah, or like a Shun, and you put those chains on him, and then you nuke him with the Theo and just kill their whole team.
With who?
That's his name, right? Shun
or Shun.
Oh,
whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, Shun. Yeah, if you have a Shun, nobody's talking about Shun.
Let's get Glorious to draft Shun for the next.
Hell yeah!
I'll convince him, no problem.
All right, next unit from my list. So this is what I was using pretty much the past 2 weeks, which is a Jamire comp. He's not the first pick, but he is part of like the 3 core that you're picking every turn or every game, and that's Nana first pick. I know it's an F5, you have to have it, whatever. And my next round was Jamire Daphnis every game, but basically the way that it was tuned is that the Nana was really, really fast, Despair Will, whatever. Jamire right behind the Nana, really, really fast, violent, just big boy damage. And then Daphnis also on like a violent tank build to just set defense breaks for the Jamire, who's going to do the actual killing to get the Nana a stack. And then the way you kind of fill out the back end of your draft, you've already got 1 speed lead. You can pick, I don't know, like I personally was doing like Chiwu and Draco as my last 2, because basically what happens is I end up with 2 speed leads, 2 swift units, the Chiwu and the Draco. If they ban my Daphnis, which was almost always the case because they think that's my only damage, I Draco. I hopefully get attack buff and speed buff. I Chiwu. I strip them all. I Nana. I drop the defense breaks. And I just hit something for about 70,000 with Jamire's S1 and just instantly get a Nana stack. And that comp's really difficult to deal with too, because you're still up against... You've got a Nana with double revives. You've got a Draco who keeps putting up immunity. A Jamire who's dealing a shitload of damage and resetting the Draco's S3 and stuff. And yeah, that comp was actually pretty smooth.
Slow. And he does AoE slow and attack break.
That comp was working out much better than I thought it was going to. And that's just like the Swift mode. Whenever people weren't speed contesting me, I just fill out the rest of the draft with like Molong, Kashmir. I was using Einhari, like just weird stuff that just either has a nuke that follows up Nana's defense break or has some form of strip damage. So yeah, Kashmir, Daphnis, Molong kinda. I was using
literally
a violent
just sprinkle Robos into every single team.
You could definitely Robo. I was using a crit damage wind Robo with that on Swift. Because after, whenever it actually worked out where I didn't grab enough bar to completely cut my team again, I would get the Nana defense breaks and then drop the Wind Robo S3. And it does like 10 to 15k on defense broken units. Just, no attack buff, no anything. Just their defense broken and you hit them with the hammer.
That was before his buff or after his buff?
But this was like last week, so before.
Oh, this is last week you were running this. Okay.
Yeah. So that's my main advice for Jamire. all the other comps involve some form of LD, which I didn't want to include on my list. Obviously, you could run Tableau Jamire stuff. Tableau is infinitely more rare than Jamire, though, so it's kind of weird to say him as part of the core. But you can also just run a really tanky Jamire with like Wusa and Molong and stuff if you want to. Just run it really efficient, really tanky. They all have, well, not all, but Wusa and Jamire have really high base speeds, and you just send your nukes and keep refreshing your immunity, and yeah, Jamire is a powerhouse.
We love Jamire. Can't think of anything else you would even add with Jamire. He is good also against a lot of the cooldown meta picks right now as well, which is always
You
good.
can use him as a counter pick, yeah. Even like in front of your team, off will, counter Gianna's, shit like that. But yeah, if you guys don't have any other Jamire ideas, you can hit your next
unit. I'm a sad non-Jamirer. I mean, I have one, but I've never managed to make a comp where I actually used him reliably. So
yeah. All right, hit us with your next one, Apze.
All right, we're going Kraka. The unit that everyone likes to bitch about, but I think it's actually pretty fucking good.
Yeah,
we love Kraka,
man.
So I mean, the thing about Kraka is that honestly, I don't want to say she's like the perfect first pick, but she's a super versatile first pick.
Yep.
Because she strips, she armor breaks, so she's a setup and a stripper, so she does everything technically. And in addition, if you have to pivot to turn 2, like she's an AE team res that drops invulns on your team. Like I think the proper build before I get into the sort of the team for her is you want her with like, middling tier accuracy, so maybe 40 to 70 depending on how like efficient your runes are, and otherwise just thick as fuck, because like you want to make it punishing if they focus her. But at the same time, if you don't focus her, then if you manage to kill somebody, she's just going to res everyone. So, like, yep. I personally think you don't build her on any damage whatsoever. She's literally pure defensive stats plus accuracy. And also crit rate. She has to have crit rate to cycle her skill 2, so that one makes it a little bit harder on the total stat requirements. But I mean,
I wouldn't do a crit rate slot 4 though. I would just try to get as much as you can from slot 2 in subs.
Yeah, like in a perfect world, she would just have crit rate as the innate stat on every rune.
Yeah, and she'd end up around like 65, 70, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, exactly. Like decent, but you want to have crit rate, but you don't need to focus it. Anyway, so her core team, I think, would actually probably be most of the time turn 2. It's pretty easy to say, oh, just build her as like a, like you could easily do her as your first strip into a robo, because the robos get so much benefit from having things even a little bit stripped before they move. But as your turn 2, like I've seen a lot of people with good success. I noticed he's pulling up Shizuka there. Is that Kraka is an enabler for Shizuka, because
in so many ways.
She's an invulnerability source. She can res Shizuka if they target Shizuka first. Shizuka can bring her back to res the rest of your team.
Yep.
Like you can, like she has a super low cooldown skill 2, so even if it's just Shizuka resing her over and over to skill 2, steal buffs, strip, armor breaks. Like if you kill Kraka first, then Shizuka is now an AE armor breaker. Like it's just those two together are kind of sick. And then you can bring lots of other, honestly, those two are the core team. You draft those two and then you counterpick everything else on their team.
Hell yeah.
Like that's literally
like a true degenerate.
Yeah, you literally can go first pick Shizuka into Kraka and then a counterpick, and then you just counterpick 2 more times. Like it's kind of a toolbox team, right? Like you have to have this. So it's weird for me to have even made this team, because it's the exact opposite build philosophy for most of my teams, but it's one where you want like a ton of units ruined, so you can have very specific counterpicks to what they have.
Yep.
And then you always get these 2 toolbox monsters into your team. And then, maybe you bring like 1 soloist DPS, so you could bring Masha, because it's like, what are they going to do? Target Masha? No, because Kraka can bring her back. Like you just make it so annoying to do anything that Like they basically have no good. The only team that really beats it is a really good control team, and that's why you're drafting 3 counter picks last. If they go counter, it's just like you can literally do Leo Verd bullshit like anytime you feel like it. Just bring Molly Leo Verd into anything as like an absolute degen pick, or you can, if you're slightly slightly more 5-head, you can bring actual good picks. But I mean, like it's 100% viable to bring, the typical annoying stuff, right?
Yeah, and you can pivot off that Shizuka Kraka into turn 1 if you wanted to too. Like if the Kraka's faster than your Oliver, you can easily go Shizuka, Kraka, Oliver, Sekhmet +1, either a speed lead or something.
As an example of how degen it could get is like, imagine you bring, Kraka probably is built Despair. You could build her Violent, but I think Despair is probably the way, just because she has a fast turn cycling AE. But like you now have between her and Shizuka as a first turn combo, you have a strip into a potential stun into an AE stun with Shizuka that also sets you up with like, your re-immunity and all. Like it's actually good. Really degen. Yeah. Like it's very, very good stuff.
There's so much synergy between those two, and Shizuka's probably the best unit in the game right now. So like, I mean, what more can you ask for than an LD that literally perfectly synergizes with the best regular element in F5 in the game? Like it's so good.
What you're saying is Apze just introduced the most busted shit ever.
No, I mean, I've seen people play it. I just don't know why more people aren't playing it. Like I know there's a bunch of people out there who are sitting around like determined to be disappointed in Kraka, but it's not actually what they should be doing. They should just be drafting good teams with it.
Yeah. And sometimes like people build these units as like counter picks or whatever, and it's like sometimes you have to just give it some really fucking good runes and just force it into drafts until you figure out exactly how the fuck it works. Like you're not gonna figure out if Kraka's good or not if you're like, every 10 matches like trying to pick her, and then you get sacked in that one match, and then your only impression of Kraka in your last 10 matches is a loss or what. Like this goes for any of these units, not just Kraka. Like if you really want to build a core around them, use them, and like start off with using the cores that we're giving you now, like just as your baseline. If you find a unit, if you're like, wait a second, like this, it'd be better if I first picked Masha than Shizuka with my Kraka, switch, try it. Like you're never gonna find out until you try it, like, and force it and try it a lot. But
I've spoken about that too many times, so I'm not gonna push that further. But it's pretty much that exactly. Because if you go asking people who may or may not own a Kraka and they're like, no, it sucks. Like, what do they know if they have not played it? They haven't even seen it on ladder. You actually have to take the initiative. I guess we would word it. Take the initiative and like actually force play it out. Because Apze fucking spieling on Kraka right now is making me realize like this unit is pretty fucking cracked. Haha. But
I mean that S2 is incredible. It's very reminiscent of pre-nerf Chongpeng, who used to be able to defense break when he's stripped, and like the utility that brought to so many different types of teams. Like defense break in RTA is a death sentence. Like if your unit is defense broken for more than a turn, it is probably going to die. And when a unit has that built into an AoE multi-hit strip, it's usually pretty good. Surprise. Like I don't know.
Her awakening is into the S2, right?
Yeah,
so
that's what
gives it she has 104 base speed then, which is still pretty good.
But I would say though, like I do think Despair is good. I think you're right about that. But I would rather have a unit like that on Violent, just to like, it's just really difficult to keep those units down. Like the units that turn cycle when they're also on Violent, it's like you finally feel like you're gaining ground against them when you get a stun, and then they proc out and they S2 you and they get 80% bar, and then they just get right back into their cycle with like very little downtime.
Yeah, for sure. The Despair would be more for like if you're trying to actually set up for the Kraka Shizuka combo.
Yeah, like try to really wombo someone down.
Yeah. Because like it's a really big tempo advantage if you actually pull that off. Because even her strip rate's only going to be like 65%. So on average, you should probably strip between 2 and 3 of them on the first turn, and then you have a 25% chance to stun. So about like maybe every third game, you're going to get to pull off that sort of AE strip into AE stun sort of a setup.
Yeah.
But the thing is she's also going to be immune after that because it's not just a strip, it's a steal. So, I mean, like, she does self-protect. So, I mean, I don't know.
I forgot about that buff. She just got that, right? Last patch, I think?
I don't remember exactly when
ago, I think she got it earlier this year, if I remember correctly.
But yeah, pick your freaking Krakas, okay? Get out of the YouTube comment section and go build it. Do it.
Throw some balls. Take the initiative. I hate saying take the initiative about a fucking game.
And now's the time, okay? Now is the time. We've got like a balance patch probably in about a month. Until that happens, just fucking go hog wild, okay? Pick whatever the hell you want.
We need Firas's fucking motivational speech, like Carpe Diem. Fucking
what? Wait, what? I don't even know what you're talking about now.
What? Carpe Diem? Seize the day.
No, seize. When did I do a motivational speech?
No, I'm saying you should. Like you're out here, like telling people to.
We need your monotone.
Pull up your pants. Get your dick out and fucking get on.
Turn your webcam on.
Wait a second. My bad. Wrong platform.
That's trying to get someone to start up a Chatterbait stream. That has nothing to do with RTA.
Sorry, that's the other podcast that we have. It's not this.
Subscribe to our OnlyFans.
All right. Can we start with my favorite unit on this entire list?
Yes.
And who I believe is the most underused LD5. I never see her enough. Eleanor.
I was gonna say I don't even remember who you had. Yeah.
Eleanor is my third one. I saved the one I could barely think of anything for last. Surprisingly, Theo I could think of more than the last one. But Eleanor. I love Eleanor. I want to own one. I don't have one. I cry when I see people who have an Eleanor and they don't use it. It's embarrassing. The amount of combos she has with a lot of crap-ass units that she technically fixes because of her S3 is insane. If you go with... Now, she doesn't have a very good... I tried thinking of a good turn 2 comp with her. It doesn't really exist as far as my brain, but maybe you guys can figure something out. But
she's good as she's good with high value units. Mm-hmm. Like when you go with one of those turn 2 comps that's just I have 4 super impactful units, you better get them all locked down or you're about to get your ass kicked. She's really dangerous because like you could Ganny something and she just gives it the turn right back and
that's part of the combos I already thought of.
So you've got to really lock her down so she doesn't give your allies the turn back, and you also have to lock down all of her allies. She makes it really tough to beat like a tanky, efficient, high impact turn 2 team.
But the first most best combo unit with her is it might not be Chung Pung anymore, but I'm just gonna say Chung Pung. But Chung Pung's natural just because of you get a strip, and if he does not proc, or if you have your Chung Pung on Despair, but then you still have your other units moving front. Eleanor will always move last unless there's some exceptional, not exceptional, but there's an exception with turn 1 comps where you want her to move maybe next to, because you can kind of interpret her S3 the same way I like to interpret Yan Hong's S3, which is it's 2 skills. You don't always have to use it for getting the cooldown. No, it's more so detrimental on Eleanor than it is on Yan Hong. But for Eleanor specifically, you don't have to oh no, I don't have any skills on cooldown, so I'm going to save my S3. No, use that to boost something if you need to boost something and leave it. I've been clapped by so many people, not so many, but a handful of people who actually realize Eleanor was so fucking good. They have her on Swift, and it's not a bad... Either she can use S2 turn 1, if they're off will, or they'll use her S3 to boost the appropriate unit that they would want to move first. and it catches you off. It's not like she's the best single target booster in the game, but because she can do that, it catches you off guard, and you don't have on your team enough speed to deal with that.
Yeah.
But that's not really the core idea that I have with her. It's more so that like you first pick her. I am still going with these units are first picks, and you can pivot into either let's go with the most common was Chungpung, and you can take a Daphnis, and then Daphnis because Daphnis and Gani and Kashmir, let's get the units out. Chungpung, Daphnis, Kashmir. Who was the other idiot I just said? I already forgot it.
Gani.
And Oberon is luxurious, but we're not going to talk about the LD counterparts with it because obviously ventilating that S3 is insane. But if you think about like you go Chungpung first, you get a pseudo AoE strip. You probably get 2 at most. Don't greed for past that. Eleanor boost him. If you're okay to use the S3, use the S3. Or if you need another strip, now this is assuming your opponent did take Verd, but the most likely did. But if they didn't and you banned it,
your opponent didn't take Verd. What the? Wait, are we talking about Summer's War still?
No, it's an obscure idea. Let's say you banned the Verd. So you can use Chungpung's S2 twice if needed, because you didn't take enough strippers. But if you did take a stripper, you can obviously let your other stripper go, and then you would boost Chungpung to use his S3. Your tuning is very important with Eleanor. But if you go into the single target route, you can still go with Daphnis, because you can use Daphnis S3 twice. Same with, I believe Kashmir is on 3 turn. I don't have Kashmir to confirm. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure he's on a 3 turn
skill. It's the same skill as Daphnis.
Like, to the cooldowns? Yeah. No. Ryu's on 4 turn cooldown. So you couldn't even combo it with Eleanor. That sucks. I thought it was exactly the same. It's not. Yeah, only Daphnis can pull up with that combo.
So Daphnis can use his skill twice?
Yes, with Eleanor. Daphnis can pop his S3 back-to-back. Kashmir can't. Kashmir will end up with 1 more turn still, because he goes to a 5 to a 4. Daphnis goes from a 4 to a 3 after cool-ups, or skill-ups. So Kashmir's off that list. I actually thought it was exactly the same for cooldown. Because he gives it... So
that's weird. So it gives... I don't understand. So if your skill's reusable in 3 turns, and she knocks it down by 2,
yes, and
it's ready.
Gives you that.
Why would it be ready?
Don't ask me. That's how the game works.
Interesting.
Yeah, 3 turn cooldowns are technically 2 turn cooldowns.
Yeah, it's on your third. I know it's on your 3rd turn that you get your skill is now ready again. It's not on cooldown for that 3rd turn, but that's I guess that would work.
It is because there's.
Why don't people do that though? Like I don't understand.
I don't know. I thought it. This is why I love it. I'm like, man, popping a Daphnis back to back is scary as shit, especially now that the.
I kind of just assumed that's not how that worked, just because you don't see it ever.
Yeah. So, anyways, what I was getting at, and then if you need boosters, most likely you're gonna have to run attack bar boosters. But because she's light, you have a couple jank ass options if you're being running poverty comp. Now, there's a really super poverty thing you can do with walkers, the light bounty hunter.
Oh,
so
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we're getting really right. You can use his S2 to strip and then boost him back up so that he can cool down with his S3.
Yeah, great.
Please never mention that combo ever again. The most cursed combo we've said today.
Okay, people have Nat 5s, you know that, right?
Okay.
we get about 500 fucking scrolls a month free to play at this point. It's like people have Nat 5s.
Okay, well, enough memeing on it then. But you definitely want to have a backup attack bar boosters in case, because they obviously see what you're doing. You're going Eleanor, Chungpung. Let's say you actually 3rd pick a Daphnis, and then they say, "I'm going to speed contest you." You're going to need speed contention yourself. What's unfortunate though, you're limited to having a speed contested unit that's also a speed lead. You're kind of forced to either run a Swift Moor or a Swift Chiwu at that point. And then you would have to also run another attack bar booster if they only took 1 speed lead, so you can ban their speed lead, and they're forced to ban either the Chiwu or Water Ryu, and then you have your Escher or I'm not going to say Hongyan again because it's just too slow. Escher's just the best option ever. So we'll say Escher. So then It doesn't seem like you have a lot of impact, but because Eleanor gives you the option with either Chunk Pong or Deafness to reboost them up immediately without the reliance of Vile procs, you can delete 2 units right away, or you can have a full control with Chiwu, or sorry, not with Chiwu, with Chunk Pong. But then you say, what if they ban my Chunk Pong? Well, don't forget, Daphnis now defense breaks unconditionally. He doesn't have to strip anything. You can pop 2 units right off the bat, and you have Escher for cleanup. Chiwu still does pushback himself, and then Eleanor herself does a fuck ton of debuffs, which helps her cycle into her S3 again, or her S1, which also provides a defense break. There's a lot of output, and you can delete a lot of units early with Eleanor. And that's just one combo team with like some common of the regular Nat 5s. And there's a lot of pivoting options with her. There's obviously a Jamire combo with her. There's an Oberon combo with her. There's the Ganymede option if you want to just keep cycling resets. And if you use her with Oliver, I didn't mention this, but Oliver with her is busted. Because Oliver cooling down his own S3, and then Eleanor would boost him. Guess where his S3's at? You just use his S3 again. You don't even have to use the S2. And the S3 is obviously better than the S2. You use the S2, you can go to S3 into S2. All you need is some strippers, obviously. The best one would be Chunk Pong. But the Robos are all definitely not off that list. The Hagang, I think, is still really good with it as well, just to prevent you from getting screwed over by certain other strips. But Hagang kind of sucks because of Robos. Robos just dominating. I can ramble with Eleanor because she has so many combos and is so underused, it pisses me off.
Yeah.
You're sleeping. Takik has fucking Eleanor. He never uses it.
What a bitch.
Exactly.
I would okay, if just real quick, if I had Eleanor, I would use Nana Tiana, and I would use Tiana as my fastest Swift, and then 2 speed leads, and then I would just boost and strip with the Tiana, drop the defense breaks, give the Tiana the turn back, and just S2.
And if you somehow can use Tiana's, you can use Tiana's S2 because it's also a 3-turn cooldown. I was thinking about using it with if I had a Lydia, or using my Lydia if I had an Eleanor.
Well, it's not even on cooldown because you would use the Tiana's S3.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying if that rotation came around, so let's say with
50 turns into the game if they're still alive. And
there's the combos are just insane.
Well, yeah, she's like the
so underused. It upsets me, man.
I mean, look at Scribble. Like, if that donkey can get top 10 with Eleanor, dude.
Hold on. Does he actually use his Eleanor though?
Yeah, he uses Eleanor
pretty much every game.
Like his typical team is an Eleanor team, actually.
Oh, I didn't even realize.
Eleanor, CP, Moore, Tableau, Eleanor, Sean. That's pretty much his core 5 right there. And you've got 2 AoE strips, plenty of AoE CC, 2 speed leads, etc.
And then I forgot about Moore combo, because Moore's S3 or S2 is also on a 3-turn cooldown. If your Moore bricks turn 1, just boost them back up.
That's so sad, though. To have to waste it. Well, no, you would never be able to actually do that, because you wouldn't put Eleanor right behind Moore. That makes no sense. No, don't.
Her S2.
Don't do that.
You know who's made for Eleanor, by the way? 100% made for Eleanor?
Nyx.
Robos?
Dark Robo.
Yeah. Dude, the Robos are crazy.
Because you go, take a full turn. So Dark Robo zaps all their stuff, gets another turn, skill 3s. Eleanor boosts him, he takes another skill 2 into another skill 3.
Yeah,
think about it.
Because they take so much bar, you can dump both skills to get both skills reduced by Eleanor, and then that's bullshit.
And you can even use it like to boost Oki. Let's say you have a strip cooldown with Oki.
We love Oki.
Strip cooldown with Cigar. Well, it's mainly Oki.
Okay, but that doesn't.
Oki's on
now you're getting into situations that don't actually exist because your Eleanor is not going to be right behind your Sekhmet, dude.
Combos are everywhere.
That's not a combo. You don't have a plus 200 Eleanor right behind your Sekhmet. That is not a combo.
The option is there.
You're wasting Eleanor. Those ideas are the reason people don't use Eleanor, because they think she's bad because they tried dumb shit like that. That's never gonna work. Oh, look, they banned the segment. Now just my Eleanor is moving. This is great.
Yeah, but then you just use her to boost your daftness.
Yeah, now I gotta use a 7-turn cooldown skill to attack bar boost something.
Love it.
All right. I'm gonna go to. We gotta start speeding these up. So I'm gonna do my next one is Leona. So I think this is a pretty straightforward unit. Okay, I know I'm about to give you a bunch of broken ass units to use with her, but the comp works. Okay, if you first pick Masha or Oliver, take the Leona as a single target strip that moves in front of both of them, and then follow it up with either the other one. So if you first picked, usually you would first pick Masha so that they hopefully don't take Oliver, and then you take Leona Oliver. Then you have Leona who moves first for a single target strip on Violent, just high accuracy and high defense. Not a damage solo build, okay? We're not talking about counter pick Leona. We're talking about she's part of your core. You want to actually use her full kit and get use out of her full kit. So you use her as a turn 1 S2 strip. She's a constant threat to be a solo. Like, she'll pretty much solo 60 to 75% of like the average drafts that are picked right now, regardless of what build you have on her. It does not matter. You don't have to be vampire. You don't have to be fucking 200 crit damage on Violent or whatever. She will solo just about it. She's basically invincible versus half of the meta units in the game. So you immediately put that pressure on people that she's part of your comp. She'll strip for Oliver. She'll strip for Masha, but she's also a threat that if your opponent doesn't pick units that can kill her, you will win, or she will be their force ban that you picked in the second round, which is really, really toxic for people to deal with, because if you have to ban something that they picked in the second round, then you're probably fighting 2 counter picks that they picked last. So if I had a Leona, she'd be fast, she'd be on Violent, speed, defense, accuracy, call it a day. She solos so many different comps, regardless of what her build is on. And she's got a strip. She got 100% stun rate on her S1. Just go nuts.
I think it's actually a really good idea.
People are just stuck in their ways where it's like, she is a high solo potential unit. So that must be how I have to build her and pick her. You do not have to. You do not need a vampire.
Awakening? What's her awakening again? Crit rate? Something stupid, I'm sure. But crit rate is actually not a bad thing for her.
I'm not sure.
I have it here. It is... Oh, ups her S1. I don't even know why I didn't process that, because she has 100 stun rate on S1 for that reason.
Yeah.
But I think
which is crazy. Just speed, defense, accuracy. Just do it.
She does have a sense of self-protection, even if she doesn't have the usual...
She's invincible.
Yeah, like... Pretty good that way. I know when I used Josephine in that slot before, too, as like a higher speed... Use her to set up and provoke a certain annoying units. But
yeah, that's actually what I'm using. I'm using Swift Josephine right now. That's
literally what I'm doing. I didn't think about saying Swift Josephine. I'm just saying a good bio set on her.
Casual plus 225 Josephine. Just chilling out.
I mean, I had a leftover set. You gotta throw
just a leftover set. How do I throw Zig in a river from the internet?
But
I'll legit.
And we were Apze and I were talking about it before you hopped on too. Like that guy who uses Swift Leona, that's exactly the point. She's just a strip, and she's still going to beat you if you don't bring counters. You will still die to that Leona if you do not bring defense breaks and whatever. And it's especially, that's why I recommended first picking Masha, because she is the most common defense breaker. Her and Nana, those are like really the only 2 that people are consistently using. So
I think that's legit. It's actually scary in that sense.
All right, Apze. This is your last one, right?
Yeah, covering Amber. Okay,
Amber.
So for a pseudo free to play, okay, so there's one big Amber cleaver that I'm aware of, which is Agent Smith, and he leverages a couple of units that make it really, really good, like Nephthys
and Maxi
and Maximilian.
Yeah, a Maxi fucking.
But if you're not doing that, you want to do something that still kind of works. Okay, so clearly you need a strip. The What's that?
I said Robos.
No. It's actually not Robos. In this case, there's a better stripper than even Robos. So Dark Robo is really good though, but Verisa is like essentially the made for Amber stripper, because since Amber scales damage based on debuffs, you need to apply debuffs. Simple as that. So there's a couple good ways of doing that. If you're under the assumption you're basically going to be dropping Amber as a last pick, or at least like late draft, you're not going to first pick Amber. Like it's too much. It's too much of a. It'd be like drafting a first pick Lucian or something. Like you give away way too much of your game plan by picking it first.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you can set up with a Verisa. So like your core draft, if you have both of these, would actually be either a Verisa Wind Robo or a Verisa Dark Robo. I personally think Dark Robo is better because of the additional debuffs. But Wind Robo is basically going to give you a consistent one extra debuff, aka a stun, on most of their team, where Dark Robo is going to give you a higher chance of getting at least one or two of the units up to a 5-stack for maximum Amber damage. So your core is going to be okay. So, and the reason this is relevant is that assuming you bring Verisa Wind Robo as your two strippers and Amber, because it's an Amber team, you're now on essentially a first turn team with no armor or with no speed leads yet, which is kind of tough, right?
Are you gonna suggest something I'm thinking of right now?
Well, I used this draft in Special League, so I actually.
I mean, there's
some
few.
experience with this.
I was going to kind of go over, because honestly, a lot's going to depend on exactly how you want to have it built. Like, if we're going mega free to there's if we're just looking at basically buffs or units that have speed lead that also do debuffs is basically what I'm.
My boy.
We have our boy, Tyrone is a pretty easy one. You have a potential, like Shimate even does stuff. Tableau does stuff. Like Tableau is a double debuff as well, and can set you up for getting to take multiple turns.
Beretta.
Yeah, you have Beretta technically. Okay. I mean, the thing is if you're if your Amber is high enough damage, that's 100% viable, especially with Robos on the
team. If they ban Amber is the issue.
So that's the thing though, is like a Verisa, a Verisa Robo team, like basically, okay, what you need on those last two spots is you need another threat as a speed lead, and you need actually, I mean, I guess you don't technically need another threat in that other spot.
I was doing Zerath in Special League. Like his synergy with her is crazy.
And also, if they're actually drafting turn 2, if they draft turn 2, you don't even need to bring another speed lead. Just bring another big threat. Like you already have two consistent strippers. Like you don't have to make sure and have speed. But I mean, like Samath technically adds another buff. He does a reset to help you survive the next turn. If you actually do enough damage, Pisama does. Like you always have the revive threat where he just like kills them from half health or whatever. See what else is good in that spot.
Okay, can I suggest it? The one I'm sitting on.
Go for it.
So I'm not going to say he's underused, but I think he works really well for this. Is a Kamamir.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
When you have so many debuffs, even if you don't have a defense break, I feel like this is still going to help delete something after Amber moves.
Yeah,
it should, because if Verisa and then Amber moves, they should already be close to like 50 at most. I think 50, right? 50% health.
Yeah.
And then Amir comes in, probably doing an additional, because he does 30% per harmful effect. So let's say you have 4. You should be able to slap a decent amount.
He trucks. In a previous life when I was running the Nyx Nora team, I actually did draft Akamamir a good number of times with that team, and it does slap. It slaps pretty fucking hard.
I think that's sleeper.
If you're a hyper premium player, there is still, like, you have the Nepthes Maxi option. Asima is also big. Like any of the armor breakers that apply multiple debuffs that are, unfortunately the 3 biggest ones are LD5s that are made to synergize like perfectly with this team. But one sec, there's a couple others. I'll go down.
How do we feel about Belinus and Beth?
Hold on. Well, so I have a lot of I use this comp like 300-400 wings in Special League. So all I did. So what I was doing is like I was doing double Robos. You could replace a Robo with Verisa. You don't have to build 2 Robos if you don't want to. And then I was doing Tyrone Tomo into Amber, or if I didn't need 2 speed leads, I would just kick the Tyrone out and pick a threat like Zyros or shit, I just had him on my mind and I fucking forgot. But either way, like the upside too is like, even if, let's just say the Amber gets banned, you end up with like Tyrone Tomo, who Tyrone is always going to miss on fucking wind units, and Tomo can then just spread freeze slow to the wind units without any like issues whatsoever. And then also you have like the option of, if any of those get through, like let's say you were using Verisa, for example, the Verisa does a bunch of debuffs, Tomo adds another one with Karma, spreads it all to anything that you happen to miss, and then Amber just crushes. Like you deal like 70% of their health. And I was using a pure tank one, speed HP, decent accuracy.
And if you need to speed, if you need to race speed, like some of the typical fast units actually still work pretty well with Amber. Like Sekhmet's still good. Like you can reset, and then also she has the same Curse of the Beautiful to set up like multiple debuffs depending on where you need it in the team. What's another couple good ones?
This unit's also really good. If you're going the boost strategy, this is like the best stripper for Amber.
Stripper and
like
armor
you
break,
will just crush. And actually, that's who I was thinking of, Gina. That's who I was using with that comp a ton, to just stack the hell out of buffs or debuffs. And I mean, most of the time, if Amber Gina got through, which is rare, like I was pre-banning Juno and most people were banning one of those two, but if those two get through, your opponent is dead if they don't resist your strips. Like they're just dead.
A thought, if you don't want to have to ban Juno every game, is also you can bring an AE heal block and have that as a pseudo force ban, because you'll basically kill their entire team with your, like they'll let your stuff through and then you just basically heal block them and then
give Beth her heal block back. Come to us. God damn it.
The cleanse block kind of helps with the Juno thing, but
no,
not really. It doesn't, like, it's unfortunate how they. I got Beth after the fact, and I wanted to use the heal block aspect of Beth.
Yeah,
it would have been so good with Amber.
Amber's a really strong unit right now.
Crossed off though with the Amber combo.
Dude,
I don't think
someone needs to give me replays of someone drafting Amber Sath.
Oh my god, that would be good.
But Sath is so slow. But that would be so good.
What's your last one for us?
You're done, Apze?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the problem with her is that a lot's going to depend. Like, she has so many premium options and sub-premium options that, like, but the core is bring strips, bring debuffs, and then force them to deal with the fact that she just does infinite damage, basically.
Yeah.
The last one is Zerath, which works both into a cleave and as a support, because his S2 is pretty nice for that. So that he's not totally tied down to being a just cleave with him all the time. He does cleanse, he does heal, and he does deal damage when needed if you're in a bruiser comp situation. So this is the core as a first pick. He's going to take if they first pick, then you got to pivot off your opponent what they're doing, or if they already picked their first pick, then you got to go off that. It's still kind of difficult. So you're either going to go with a speed comp, which I recently thought was actually a Zerath, Cocky, not Draco, but I believe one of them was an Escher. It didn't end up beating me, but I'm super fat with HP, but that's not to attest that it's a bad, or to say it's a bad comp, all right? Let me just dig it up quick, because I had it here, and then I exited to go look at Leona. Sorry. Wait. Oh, there it is. Oh, but they used Lucifer. But you don't need to use Lucifer.
So what you're going to need is Lucifer, Wool Young, Leo, and Zerath.
Yes. And then you have the ultimate one-shot comp. But if you were actually going first pick Zerath, and then you can go into Escher, Cocky, and then you still need the situation where you need a speed lead and a booster, another booster potentially. And then you can go with Draco naturally and Garo. And the point of that is just to boost up, help delete the problem unit, And then Zerath, being a fat fuck as he is, can still heal your team and sustain through the game. And then your boosters and your other 3 units are obviously doing something as well. Whatever Escher, I just always love to have Escher. The cleave is pretty straightforward though. It does kind of need cocky because you can't really rely on a Lucian style kind of thing. They need to be tanky-ish to benefit from Zerath's heal, right? So that's but if you go to a bruiser comp, just treat him as a cleanser in that situation. So you can still go into like your Shizuka Nana nonsense. Nana's actually not horrible, setting up defense break for him. And then going with a stripper situation if you need a stripper, or if because they're taking immunity into you as well. I actually don't think Chiwu is horrible with a Nana if you're going with the Nana route, just to help delete something, get stacks on Nana, and then you're sitting pretty good. And then also follow up with the bruiser comp would be just your usual, I hate to say Leo Verd, but Leo Verd doesn't even really work into this. It's more like you're saying tanky, picking off your opponent one by one. Zerath is saving his S3 for the right moment to delete 1 or 2 units, and you're using his S2 more so until
his S3 doesn't really work later into the game though. So like, if he's low health, his S3 does no damage. So
you're kind of stuck on the cleave comp?
Yeah, kind of. Well, it's not that, but like, you don't have to. Your idea was right too with like the first one where it's like, if you can set up a way for Zerath to kill 1 unit with his S3, he will likely chunk the other ones enough, and he's so tanky, and the rest of your team it has like, niche survivability like Garo and Kaki and things like that, like you're pretty chilling. Like,
yeah,
not every AoE high damage unit has to be used to kill your opponent's entire team all at once. If you pick up 1 kill on if you just kill their Chung Pung because Garo S2'd it and Zerath finished it with S3, like, you're chilling. Like, you're probably fine. You're probably going to win. So
but the issue is for some people, I imagine, is getting it tuned. So I wasn't saying
you got to be swift. Yeah,
it has to be swift. Don't be discouraged just because it's not on Despair or Bio.
Most people's are. Pinkroids is swift. Raxus is swift. Like, these guys have some of the best runes in the entire world. What do they need to put their Zerath on to get it tuned? Swift. So it's on swift. Like,
but it's also getting it with the right HP.
Yeah.
To actually do something and on crit damage and yada yada.
I mean, that base HP helps. That dude's a fucking tank.
15,000.
Yeah.
300.
So,
but
yeah.
And the bruisers, I totally forgot that because it's based on.
It's tough. It's really hard to use in turn 2. If you take half your HP, you basically don't have a Zerath anymore. He's just not there anymore.
Sucks they have that restriction on him. I totally guess that because I'm usually fighting all the cleavers. I was trying to force some kind of bruiser comp that maybe there's a reason. I guess I've never seen a bruiser comp Zerath going around. So you are kind of stuck on the cleavish side. But fortunately, his pairings, like Kaki, Escher, and all that, they're beneficial to him.
You can also do Ryu Chung Pung. Like, that's a lot of the way that like Rax and Pinky make use of him. They've got strips. Chung Pung's a pseudo AoE defense breaker. It's not the most consistent thing in the world, but it happens sometimes. And yeah, Zerath just moves last. Sometimes he cleanses, like if Pinky or Rax get outsped and they get their stuff pushed back or whatever, maybe the Zerath has to S2 and keep the team alive. But if they get the first turn, then they can use Chung Pung's second skill, defense break, get it on 1 or 2 units. Zerath, those 2 units are gone. Like, it's pretty good. He's got pretty high synergy with most of the AoE comps because most of them have some form of defense break, integrated in some way.
Or it gets them low enough that he can finish them off even without a defense break.
You finish them with the other units,
Because the comp I was fighting, the one that almost took me out, had 0 defense break. It didn't have, obviously you can't increase his HP damage. His HP damage is HP damage. And with Kaki and then Zerath follow-up, he brought everyone to 1 HP. That's no additional scaling, so that's just artifacts and runes. That's what makes him kind of nice, actually, that you don't need to set up an attack buff or a defense buff.
They should make shields count as you having more HP. HP scaling skills should go up if you have a shield
Oh
on.
my god, it's time for that holly berry.
Finally, she's been. Maybe that's the reason they gave him such shitty skills, because that's the next big update coming.
Dude,
out.
that's actually what I'm most excited about now that, or to get off topic slightly, is that this should be the cookie buff patch.
Yes, it's gotta be.
Next one.
It's gotta be. I've been pulling cookies randomly too. Like, I all I got from the scrolls was the wind pure vanilla over and over and over again. But now recently I've pulled like the fire holly and stuff like that. So I've actually got a few of them.
You
now.
reminded me. Fire holly. I'm going back to Eleanor. If you ever want to just spam your fire cookie, the one with the shield that mitigates everyone's damage, it's on a 3-turn cooldown. So I'm not saying to boost her, but if your Eleanor boosts someone else, her S3 goes back on full.
Yeah,
it's back to be used again, back to back.
So the next time she wakes up, it's like, and she can't be CC'd. There's basically no way to stop her from doing it twice in a row.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That was on the list as well. My mental list, not a physical list. But yes, if you have Fire Hollyberry and Eleanor, you're just annoying as fuck. You can't do anything. That's
right.
that was on that.
My final unit, and the final unit of the video, is Jaeger. So this is a weird one. Like, so the way that I would build him into a core, and this is how I build most of my units into a core, is with Chung Pung and Moore, and specifically with Moore being the first pick. The main reason being is like those two are pretty much the units that stop you from being able to use a Jaeger in general, because they glance him and attack break him and push him back and don't let him ever play or have fun. And like, so I would combo him with those. I would speed him up. I would make him fast to move immediately after Chung Pung, just in case you do want the option of dropping your S2. Like, maybe it's on the second round, but still, like, if you S3 with Chung Pung and then proc, okay, now you can get your defense breaks out. Jaeger's just going to instantly annihilate something. And it's similar to, like, Leona, where once you've kind of gutted them of the common units that beat Jaeger, they're kind of in a weird spot where they have to specifically seek out units in their box to kill the Jaeger, if not force ban him, because Juno's not going to do it. He's going to beat Juno every single time. Like, Praha's not going to do it. He's going to beat Praha every single time. So, like, it does kind of put people in a weird spot where, like, okay, there's already a Jaeger down super early. He took the Chung Pung and the Ryu. I either have to dig into my box or commit to just banning the Jaeger so I don't just lose to it. And build wise, I would say Violence the best, but that's a really hard build to pull off. A violent crit damage build that's up with a CP and a Ryu, but you can go Vampire if you have to. There's nothing wrong with Vampire Jaeger in my opinion, but that's the only core I could really come up with him. He's largely a counter pick and not a very good one right now because the CC meta is pushbacks. So, and he's not immune to pushbacks.
How annoying would he be if he were immune to pushbacks? Would he be like the best?
They'd have to lower his damage big time. He hits way too hard to have no form of counter to him.
You'd just be like Masha, but I don't know.
He hits way harder than Masha.
He'd be a tankier Masha, yeah. That's the thing.
And he has a built-in counter attack. I mean, your only counter to him would be attack break and glancing hit and hope for the best. I don't know what else you could do if he couldn't be pushed back. And even that's like, the way you get those debuffs to stick on things is usually by pushing them back so that they can't shake it off. You know what I mean? And if he was immune, it's like one proc and he's free from those debuffs anyway. Oh man, that would be too good. Do it to Fire Monkey first. Come to us. Stop messing with us. Give Fire Monkey immunity to pushback. It's bullshit.
No, they'll increase his res again. What was that recent thing they gave? Oh, they gave him more speed.
He gains speed.
Stacking speed.
Yeah.
Doesn't mitigate the pushbacks, unfortunately. Not that much.
Yeah.
Which is buns and a half.
But all right, we can end it there. That was our whole list. Thank you guys for commenting and giving us some stuff to talk about. We appreciate it. If you stuck around for this whole hour 25 minutes,
obscure
like that shit and subscribe. Thank you for joining us, Apps. You guys have any final words?
No. Should we do a part 2 to this or no?
Yeah,
So we get another 10
down.
units?
I'm down for it. We should probably, after balance patch, we'll do it again.
Sure.
All right, come to us if you're listening. Buff Fermion
and buff Wedjat to be a partner with
Make Wedjat have a
Fermion.
28 speed lead, and make Fermion
Also have
area
a 28
effect on
speed
every
lead.
attack and retain his provoke.
Okay.
Easy peasy.
I got think of a buff I want.
Nix Fermion life where he just AE provoke everyone the entire time. Easy.
Buff Shazam by giving him a transmog where it's a hamster and a wheel.
Yeah.
Goodbye, people. Peace.
Peace.